Hey, good afternoon, Nexo Development League. This is Rock. I'm coming to you with a map tutorial for Battlefield of Eternity. So, Battlefield of Eternity, if you've never played the map, which would be pretty hard to do in Storm League nowadays, but if you've never played the map, has really a very strong objective. It's arguably probably one of the strongest objectives. Back in the day, Kev Guest used to talk about how the map is actually too powerful because the objective can just win you the game on its own. But besides that, the quick definitions for the map objective. So obviously you have a division line here in the middle where you'll be playing most of your sides of the game. The objective as you go through spawns always first in this 1 and 2 position, and then afterwards it will flip and play 3, 4. Anytime you play on this map and you have an objective, it may spawn north-south and then east-west, or east-west and then north-south. There is a slight pattern. The first one is always north-south, and the second one's always east-west, with the Immortal being the easy for you to attack on your side second. So very quickly, my very crude drawing. So I don't believe these two positions are set, but position 3 and position 4 here is always attacking favor. So if you're on the red side here, the blue Immortal always comes here, and then if you're blue side, the red Immortal always comes here on the second phase. So because of that, that first objective tends to be once you get halftime, if you're winning, you're able to burn and race it down on that side. So going back to the basics, this is only a 2-lane map. There's 4 camps on this map, 2 on each side, 1 top, 1 bottom. If you're blue, you can see with the heavenly side, and then 1 to the right and 1 bottom for red, happen to matching the hell side. These camps are actually as important as the objective, mainly because this shaman camp on both of these, if you do not kill the shaman, it will continue to keep pushing. If you've played this map for any sort of time, everybody comes and grabs this camp right around 1:45 to 2 minutes. If you grab it right at about 2 minutes, the first objective tends to spawn at 2:30. And so if you're able to grab that camp somewhere between 2:15, you can time it to where the objective will then walk out. And so both objectives, this one will walk this way, this one will walk this way. And so the ideal for a lot of teams is to have this camp pushing while the Immortals are fighting or while you're trying to burn. Because then most teams will have to answer this camp or it will eventually take out damage to this wall. So what you want to do is be able to have your camps timed properly to be able to push and at least force one of their team members to answer the camp. What some teams do is they will push and then 5-man go to burn, or 5-man go to burn. So as an example, if this camp is pushing out for red, they can come down here and try and burn this camp as 5, and then once it goes to the safe side to attack, they will send their offlaner to go and clear the camp for the enemy side. So in this case, the enemy's one is pushing down here, so the offlaner will come down here and clear this, and then the 4-man will just burn the Immortal on this side in an attempt to try and even things out. That doesn't mean that's the best thing to do, it's just what you typically see on this map. And then the other thing that teams will do is if you have an advantage in either your top or bottom lane during the laning phase before this first camp spawns, teams will be fighting over this camp. This camp honestly is bonus. If you are winning your like 4 versus 4 here, or you're winning your 1 versus 1 here or something, you can get this camp. As well, if your team is maybe losing the 4 versus 4, sometimes people will send a person up to be able to do the camp or support or fight and invade. Just because this is a 2-lane map doesn't mean that you're locked into this ARAM grid-led style of 4 versus 4. This map actually has quite a different way to play laning arrangements and a lot of ways to get value. But at the end of the day, the game comes down to one thing: are you the racing team, or are you the, call it, stall and scaling team? So every time you load in, people are trying to play this map and grab heroes that help with race. People like taking Greymane, Vala, Jimmy, Li Ming, Hanzo, all of these different heroes, Artanis. all these heroes do a good job at racing and defeating the immortal, right? Like the idea is they do bonus damage to the immortal if left by themselves. So you may be thinking, hey, we're the racing team because we got Greymane and Li Ming. It's like, sure, you've got those as racers, but then they have Artanis and mercenary, um, or yeah, mercenary Jimmy, which is called Exterminator. If they have those two, with Exterminator and Amateur Opponent, maybe they actually can outrace you. And so, as much as you would like to be the ones that are ahead on race, there's a chance that they will beat you. And so, somebody in the game is going to be the better racer. And so, if you're the better racer, you need to race. If you are not the better racer, you need to scale and defend. And so the way that that works is through side soaking and defense. So what I mean by side soaking is a lot of the time when you end up defending, you're going to be putting your heroes in positions to where they are going to stop them from sieging onto your objective. So not that you'd necessarily draft this exact composition, but if you wanted to draft people that did good poke damage as well as good siege damage, I could see people drafting something like this, to where you have Exterminator Jimmy that's able to do a lot of damage on the objective, and you've got Diablo and KT are looking for wombo combo kills to be able to defend if they push in, and then you've got maybe a Stukov Puddle or something to secure someone down. So Jimmy is able to race very well if left alone, but also can be helpful in these death combo if they push in to try to attack in this zone, right? So like, even though this has race in it, you may not necessarily call yourself the defensive comp until you realize that, hey, we have to defend because they have the Li Ming, Greymane, Artanis, and Haymaker Muradin. And so they just went all in on hitting the immortal, and so they will outrace you if you don't answer. And so as much as you would like to potentially race them and have a winning chance, you may not be able to win the race just because of what the heroes are drafted in a true 1v1. So if you can't win the race, you are the stall and defend scaling comp, despite the fact that you potentially drafted racers for your team, right? So the next thing you need to do, besides stall and sake, if you're going to be stalling, you want to be scaling to where your team's win condition comes online. So in this generic example that I have here, this team wants to kill things, right? You've got Diablo, which is either all in or picks. You've got Leoric, who wants to entomb things. You've got stuns. You've got CC. This composition wants to kill stuff. That's how they're going to win. Yes, they can hit the immortal, but they're probably going to hit the immortal after they've gotten 1 or 2 kills. So since they're waiting for 10s and trying to slow down the game, you want to make sure that you have good side soak. When I say good side soak, that means that Leoric or someone else in your offlane is able to help cover that clear, as well as maybe answer that camp. When it comes down, they're able to take care of that by themselves. Or you're able to put someone safe, like Jimmy at the gate here, to help clear and soak while your 3-man comp here is strong enough to get kills. So that's the idea for this one, is to be able to really win the immortal, and sometimes winning the immortal at all costs can be worth. But you don't want to be throwing your lives away for the immortal. One of the things that happens a lot is maybe one team will get in position to win the race first. So let's say blue team, we're level 10s each, and so the camps were taken, and the camp comes down here, and blue answers the camp, right? They actually bring all 4 down, and they quickly clear the camp. And so while blue's clearing the camp, red goes, sweet, this is our chance, and they quickly burn down the immortal. They say, bring all 5 people here and instantly get halftime. That actually might be advantageous for blue, because then now when the immortal comes to their side, so now the immortal's over here, blue can defend or force a fight because their camp is cleared, but the camp that they got hasn't been answered. So then if Artanis goes to answer the camp, now the blue team can invade and force a 5-on-5 and get what they want, which is their kill. And since halftime's already happened, if they're able to push these guys off the defensive side, they can actually take the Immortal and go 100 to 0 on the Immortal. It's very odd, but it's something to think about. Do you guys have enough burn that you don't want to actually push the Immortal to halfway? It's a little bit more advanced, but I think you guys get the idea. So Battlefield of Eternity, as funny as it sounds, is probably one of the more linear maps and has a very clear win condition. Get the Immortal, win the game. You get the most Immortals on this map, you're going to win the game. The Immortals will always go to the side that has the least structures. So if your team pushes down this wall and this wall up top is still whole, the Immortal will choose to go to the top and push down this lane. So one of the things you want to do when pushing with the Immortal is not lose your soak. So unless you can get a lot more kills at 10 and push for, oh, we killed everyone, and not only do we get this building, but we're getting this wall too, you typically want to keep your offlaner or somebody to catch soak while pushing with the Immortal. Or if your team is really strong at sieging, like you have a Sylvanas or something, a Sylvanas Greymane, and you can just backdoor buildings, you might be able to do some weird split push where, maybe it doesn't get a lot of value, the Immortal being here, but if the Immortal comes here, your team of 5 can push down this bottom building and fort. So, lots of options there for shot calling. But the Immortal, once taken, will always go to the lane with the least amount of structures in the way. Or with the most amount of structures in the way. Apologies. So, the last couple notes I have here about Battlefield of Eternity is when you're drafting heroes, you want to make sure you also get heroes that potentially work, especially if you're the defending scaling comp, that work with your Immortal. What I mean by that is your Immortal can actually act as a 5th, 6th man. Every, I think, about 10-15 seconds, the Immortal does one of two attacks. He either does a circle attack. If you have a bunch of melee people inside, he will do an AoE circle that pushes everybody back and hits them. And then if you have a bunch of ranged things, the Immortal will do circles. He'll drop like 6 circles around himself. And so these circles are huge because you can manipulate people into the stun circles when they thought they were safe, right? You could have a Li Ming sitting here being like, pew, 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 I fire orbs and I'm going to hit this Immortal. And then all of a sudden your friend Alarak pushes Li Ming into the stun circle. And like being stunned, Alarak now can just almost 100% wombo combo Ming by himself. But being able to manipulate the battlefield to use these stun circles is huge. Or even a Li Ming might be like, oh, I'm safe, playing around this edge. And then Diablo charges and then flips her into the stun circle, right? It's the same idea. So despite that she might be safe, Diablo flips her into the stun circle and then she gets stunned and dies. So definitely you want to think about how can I use or fight around these Immortals. In the same way, you might not actually want to fight at the Immortal if it's not safe because they can manipulate and throw stuff in there. Or even something as simple as an Entomb. The Orc might be able to get a cool flank from the bush and throw an Entomb right on top of the stun circle, and then they can't get out and they're stunned. So something to think about for the map is making sure that you use that to your advantage. The last thing I have is the objective is so strong that I would not recommend picking heroes that have to scale really late to become really powerful. So for example, Zeratul and Nazebo tend to be heroes that scale really, really late in the game, right? They need their level 16, level 20 talents. The objective is so strong that the game could potentially end at level 13, right? Like the first objective always spawns before 10, and the second objective always spawns after 10, assuming both teams are soaking and stuff. So I would not pick any heroes that you're banking on getting past level 13. Because if the enemy team wins the Immortal handily in the first one and wins the second one, there's a good chance that they're pushing for your keep. And if they manage to kill you and you can't stop the Immortal from sieging, that could be core in like 12, 13 minutes. So definitely be something to be aware of, that I would not pick super late game scaling heroes where you're dependent on level 20s. So, alright, I have so much more to talk about, but I'll cut it there. Best of luck, Next Development League. Once again, main goal is to make sure that you always draft someone that can help with your immortal race and burn. And very quickly, as you load in, you should decide: are we the racing comp or are we the defending comp? And as despite that you both drafted race, whoever has the more race is the racing comp. And if you have less, you have to defend. And so how you do that and how you play can change every game, and that's what makes it fun. So this has been Rock. Catch you later. If you have any questions or follow-ups, feel free to message me in the Discord, in the CCS Discord, or follow me on Twitch, and I'll be happy to talk about Battlefield of Eternity some more. Have a great night. Catch you on the next one.